Which brings us to Remembrance Day, and like every other show, how can you not start with the most important recognition? When you think of the MCG, you can think of grand finals, or, as I do, you can think of it as examples of raw human beings. 110,000 people, a seat for every person. Well, in fact, the number of Australians who have died in war is more than 110,000 people. From the first to the most recent conflicts, the ones that people gleefully joined or were forced to join through conscription. Every time you see the MCG, think of every person at the MCG and the overflow outside. Those are the people who died, let alone the dozens of footy stadiums more of those that were injured, let alone the dozens and dozens more of the families that were forever changed. There isn't a town on the map in Australia, from the smallest speck to the biggest city, that doesn't have somewhere a beautiful granite recognition of the service that has been given by those from the First World War, that is gathered twice a year on Anzac Day and Remembrance Day by those who fought in World War II, in Vietnam, in Korea, in Afghanistan, in Iraq 1 and 2, who were peacekeeping operations in places like East Timor. All of them have a common bond. They love this joint. All of them have a common bond that they are willing to bet with everything for what this joint is about. Now, I have no doubt that if we were able to get a time machine and find a bloke who was marching from a regional town into the main square of their local capital city before going off to places like Gallipoli, they would find a country that spends time in its universities giving jobs to people to help affirm their gender a little complicated. They may find the luxuries with which we live, particularly those in between the wars and in the depressions, in the returning times. The women of the Australian Women's Land Army would think that we are collectively taking the piss with how big our TVs are, with how comfortable our homes are, with how easily we ignore the people who live next door to us. But the one thing that I think we all do have in common, regardless of the societies they came from, is the country that they love. And while, thankfully, none of us are being asked to put our life on the line, there are those who volunteer to do it. Those who volunteer to do it multiple times, and their scars are deep, both emotional and physical. On this day, we remember those that have lost their lives, but we also recognise those who knew them best, because they are the best of us, lest we forget.